You can change your reality with one simple breath. Imagine for a moment that everything you dream of, everything you wish for, could be brought closer not through endless struggle, not through chasing, but by a secret hidden within you. A secret discovered and studied by Jacobo Grinberg, the Mexican scientist often called the Einstein of Consciousness. Today, you are going to uncover the observer breath, a technique that he believed could connect you to the hidden fabric of reality itself. Stay with me until the very end of this video, because what you are about to learn is not just another breathing exercise. It is a method that can reshape your perception of the world, align you with your desires, and open a doorway into a reality you may have never imagined possible. Jacobo Grinberg was not a spiritual guru. He was a neuroscientist. He spent his life researching the mysteries of the human mind, blending science with ancient wisdom from Mexican shamans and indigenous traditions. While many scientists looked only at the brain as a machine, Grinberg looked deeper. He believed the mind could alter the very structure of reality. He spoke of something he called the lattice, an invisible web that connects all things. Through certain practices, he discovered that ordinary people could access this hidden web and influence it. The observer breath is one of those practices, and it is surprisingly simple. But why should you keep watching? Because most people live their lives believing reality is fixed, unchangeable, beyond their control. They think desire is just fantasy, and manifestation is only a word. Grinberg showed that this is not true. He revealed that by shifting attention, by stepping into the role of the observer, you begin to alter your vibration, and when vibration shifts, reality responds. By the time you finish this video, you will know exactly how to use this technique in your own life, not as a theory, but as a living practice that could transform your daily experience. Now here is where the story becomes more mysterious. Jacobo Grinberg did not just study meditation. He conducted experiments with shamans, healers, and ordinary volunteers. His research suggested that human consciousness could stretch far beyond the physical body. People under his studies experienced telepathy, visions, and profound states of unity with the universe. He wrote over 30 books, carefully documenting his findings, bridging the gap between science and mysticism. But just before his work could reach international recognition, Jacobo disappeared in 1994, vanishing without a trace. No body, no explanation. To this day, no one knows what happened. Some say he was silenced because his discoveries were too powerful. Others believe he moved into another dimension, living proof of his own theories. And that is where the observer breath takes on an even greater sense of mystery. If a scientist of his level disappeared after uncovering these truths, perhaps he had unlocked something far more real than we dare to believe. The observer breath is not simply about calming the mind. It is about learning to see yourself from outside the constant chatter of thought. You take a deep breath, you watch it without trying to change it, and in that moment you become both participant and witness. This separation between what happens and the one who observes creates a gap. Inside that gap, possibility lives. Grinberg taught that when you sustain this state, your subconscious begins to align with your conscious desires. Energy that was once scattered now flows in one direction. And this is where manifestation becomes possible, not as magic, but as a shift in how your inner world communicates with the hidden structure of reality. Stay until the end, because I will guide you through how to practice it and what you might feel when you do. It is not about long hours or complicated rituals. Just a few minutes, repeated daily, can change the way you feel, the way you think, and the way life responds to you. But here is the part that most people miss. The observer breath is not about forcing your desire to appear. It is about becoming so clear, so aware, that your desire feels natural, inevitable. It turns longing into presence, and presence into reality. Think of how often people talk about manifestation as if it were a shopping list for the universe. Ask and it will be delivered. Grinberg's approach was different. He believed you don't manifest by commanding reality, but by merging with it. By breathing as an observer, you merge with the very field that holds all possibilities. And in that merging, your vibration draws the experience that matches your inner state. If your vibration is scattered, reality feels scattered. If your vibration is aligned, reality reflects that alignment back to you. Consider this. What if all the struggles you faced, all the failed attempts at change, happened because your energy was not aligned with what you asked for? What if the missing piece was not more effort, but more awareness? That is what makes this technique so powerful and so rare. It does not demand struggle. It demands presence. And perhaps this is why Grinberg's work was so dangerous to the conventional world. If human beings realize that they can alter their own reality with nothing more than awareness and breath, then the systems that profit from fear and limitation begin to collapse. His disappearance, whether ordinary or extraordinary, only adds to the weight of his teachings. It leaves us with the question, what did he find and why was it hidden? You will discover that answer not in theories but in practice. In just a moment I will show you exactly how to use the observer breath. And once you try it, you will understand why Jacobo called attention the most powerful force we possess. Your attention is the currency of reality. Where you place it determines what unfolds in your life. The observer breath trains you to place it wisely, calmly, and consciously. So, as we begin this journey together, I invite you to keep an open mind. Allow yourself to feel the weight of these words. Consider that the life you want is not distant. It is already here, waiting for you to align with it. All it takes is one breath, one shift in awareness, to begin pulling it into your experience. Welcome to Awakened Synchronicity, where hidden truths meet daily practice. If you are ready to learn the observer breath and to discover how Jacobo Grinberg's secret technique can transform your reality, stay with us until the very end. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe so you never miss the knowledge and techniques that can awaken your own synchronicity. Before we talk about the steps, we first need to understand what the observer breath really is. This is not just a breathing exercise. It is not simply about taking air in and letting it out. The observer breath is a doorway. It is a technique that Jacobo Grinberg described as a way to step into the position of the witness, the one who watches without judgment, the one who notices without being carried away. When you practice it, you are no longer trapped inside the endless noise of thoughts. You begin to rise above, and in that rising, something extraordinary happens. You align with what you truly want. This is the observer breath. It sounds simple, almost too simple, but simplicity is often the key. Grinberg understood that the mind, left unchecked, is restless. It jumps from one thought to another, chasing worries, memories, and desires. In this state, energy is scattered. Nothing holds. But when you use the breath as your anchor and observe it carefully, your attention gathers. It condenses. It sharpens. That focus begins to alter your inner vibration. And as your vibration changes, so does the way reality responds to you. Jacobo Grinberg did not stumble upon this technique by chance. His studies of indigenous traditions in Mexico exposed him to ways of seeing consciousness that were not limited to Western science. Shamans, healers, and wise elders spoke of watching the breath, not as an act of relaxation, but as an act of power. They believed that when you observe the rhythm of your breathing, you are actually observing the rhythm of life itself. Grinberg translated these ancient insights into a method anyone could practice. He stripped away the rituals and left the essence: watch the breath, become the observer, and allow that state to transform you. The observer breath works because it trains your attention. Most of the time, attention is asleep. It runs on autopilot. You scroll through your day, reacting to things, chasing impulses, hardly aware of what you are doing or feeling. Grinberg's discovery was that attention is the tool through which we can reshape reality. The breath becomes the simplest, most constant object of focus. It is always there, moving in and out, steady, alive. By turning attention toward it, you begin to wake up. And when attention wakes up, you step into alignment with your own inner power. It lets you align with what you truly want, not the surface wants that come and go, but the deeper ones that shape your life. Think of the times you have wanted something with all your heart, but fear or doubt held you back. Think of the times you convinced yourself it was impossible. These blocks are not outside of you, they live inside the mind. The observer breath begins to clear those blocks because it takes you out of the storm of thought. It places you in the calm center, where clarity lives. In that clarity, your true desires can rise without being drowned by noise. Grinberg believed that reality itself is shaped by the dialogue between consciousness and the lattice of energy that surrounds us. This lattice, he said, responds to the quality of our awareness. If we are distracted, fearful, or unfocused, the lattice reflects chaos. If we are centered, calm, and aligned, the lattice reflects harmony. The observer breath is the bridge that carries you from chaos to harmony. It is the act of bringing your attention home, and when attention is at home, it speaks clearly to the universe. To grasp how this works, imagine a lake. When the surface is disturbed, the water is cloudy, and you cannot see beneath it, that is your ordinary state of mind, scattered, restless, unclear. Now imagine the lake growing still. Suddenly the water is transparent. You can see the depths. The observer breath is the stillness that clears the water. When your inner lake is calm, your desires are no longer distorted. They appear sharp and true, and reality can reflect them back to you with the same clarity. But why the breath? Why not some other focus? Grinberg chose the breath because it connects body and mind, the conscious and the unconscious. It is automatic, and yet you can control it. It is the perfect symbol of awareness. When you observe your breath, you are touching both the physical rhythm of life and the deeper current of consciousness. Every inhale and exhale becomes a reminder that you are more than thoughts. You are the one who observes. That position of observer is the key to shifting reality. There is also another layer to this. The observer breath does not ask you to manipulate or force anything. You are not trying to breathe in a special way. You are not trying to hold or control. You simply watch, and it is in that watching that transformation occurs. The ego loves control. It loves to say, "I will make this happen." But the observer breath bypasses the ego. It reminds you that true alignment comes not from force, but from presence. Presence is stronger than control, because presence aligns you with the flow of reality instead of fighting against it. Jacobo's brilliance was in recognizing how something so natural, so overlooked, could open the door to extraordinary experiences. He documented cases where people practicing observation entered states of expanded perception. They felt connected to others at a distance. They reported visions, insights, and moments of unity with the universe. To the rational mind, this sounds impossible. But Grinberg's work suggested that what we call impossible is only what we have not yet learned to observe correctly. The observer breath begins to crack open that wall. When you sit quietly and notice your breath, something subtle happens. At first, you feel restless. Thoughts try to pull you away, but as you keep watching, a shift occurs. You realize you are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices them. That realization is profound, because if you are not your thoughts, then you are free from their grip. And if you are free, then your desires are no longer trapped inside fear or doubt. They rise clean, powerful, direct. That is alignment, the meeting point of who you are and what you truly want. Grinberg often spoke of the observer as the hidden self, the silent witness behind every experience. Most of us ignore that witness because we are so caught up in what we are experiencing. But the witness never disappears. It is there in moments of joy, in moments of pain, in every breath you take. The observer breath is simply the practice of turning toward that witness deliberately. You step into it, and as you do, life begins to shift. Think of how revolutionary this is. For centuries, people have searched for tools to manifest desires, rituals, prayers, visualizations, affirmations. Some work, some fade, but Grinberg gave us something far more direct. The act of observing what is always present, the breath, and using that observation as a bridge to the infinite field of possibilities. No tools, no rituals, no beliefs required, just awareness, just breath, just the observer. And this is why the observer breath has remained one of Jacobo's most powerful gifts. It is a technique hidden in plain sight, easy to overlook, but capable of shifting your life from within. Every inhale, every exhale, every moment of attention is a reminder that you are more than a body, more than thoughts, more than circumstances. You are the observer, and the observer is the one who aligns with the truth of desire. Through that alignment, reality itself begins to bend. It comes from Jacobo Grinberg, a man who dedicated his life to exploring the deepest mysteries of the human mind. He was not a guru, not a mystic in the traditional sense, but a scientist who studied consciousness with a rigor that few dared to embrace. Born in Mexico, he trained in psychology and neuroscience, but his path did not stop at the laboratory. He ventured into the worlds of shamans, healers, and indigenous wisdom keepers, searching for the meeting point between science and spirit. In that search, he uncovered something profound, that reality itself is not fixed, but elastic, and that our awareness has the power to shape it. The observer breath was one of the tools he shared to prove this truth. Jacobo believed that to understand reality, one must first understand the nature of attention. He saw that attention, like light, could illuminate whatever it touched. When scattered, it weakens. When focused, it becomes a beam powerful enough to cut through the layers of illusion. And what better way to train attention than through something constant, something simple, something we all carry with us every second of our lives. That is why he turned to the breath. When you watch your breath, you step back from the endless stream of thoughts. You create distance between yourself and the noise of the mind. That small distance changes everything. Suddenly, you are no longer trapped inside the story running in your head. You are not the fear, not the doubt, not the memory replaying itself. You are the observer. You are the one who sees. And when you take this position, the world shifts. What once felt overwhelming begins to lose its grip, because the observer cannot be touched by the storm of thoughts. This shift is not just mental, it is energetic. This quiet focus changes how you feel inside. As you watch the breath, your nervous system calms, stress softens, a new vibration begins to move through you. People who practice this technique often describe an immediate sense of lightness, as if a weight has been lifted. Some even say you can raise your vibration fast, in just 60 seconds. Think about that. In 1 minute, you can move from chaos to clarity, from heaviness to light. That is the gift of observation, and it all begins with a single breath. The reason this vibration matters is because it is the language of reality. Everything around you is energy, and energy responds not to words but to states. If your state is heavy, reality reflects heaviness. If your state is open, reality reflects openness. When you use the observer breath, you are tuning your vibration like an instrument. And just as a tuned instrument produces beautiful sound, a tuned vibration produces harmony in your life. As your vibration shifts, something remarkable begins to happen. Your desires start to feel closer. They no longer feel like distant dreams or impossible goals. They feel present, alive, within reach. This is not imagination, it is alignment. By observing your breath and stepping into the role of the witness, you quiet the inner resistance that pushes desires away. You become open to what you want. You no longer chase it with desperation. Instead, you invite it with presence. Jacobo's brilliance was in showing that this process is not mystical fantasy, but grounded in the mechanics of attention and awareness. The mind, when scattered, blocks desire. The mind, when still, allows desire to flow. The observer breath is the bridge between the two. It is the act of stepping back, of watching, of letting your vibration rise until the space between you and what you want begins to dissolve. Imagine the way a magnet pulls metal closer. That is what happens when you align with desire. You do not force it. You do not strain. You shift your inner state, and in that shift, reality begins to move toward you. The observer breath is the practice that allows this shift to happen naturally. Every inhale and exhale becomes a reminder that you are more than your thoughts, more than your doubts, more than your limits. You are the observer, and the observer is always in alignment with the truth of desire. Jacobo understood that many people live disconnected from this truth. They believe reality is something fixed, something external, something they cannot influence. His research challenged that belief. He showed that consciousness is not passive, it is active, creative, dynamic. By watching the breath, by reclaiming attention, you awaken this creative power within yourself, and once awakened, it cannot be ignored. This is why the observer breath is more than a practice. It is a key that opens the door to the deeper reality Jacobo called the latter. A field where everything is connected, where your vibration communicates directly with the universe, and where your desires are not wishes but signals waiting for resonance. Through the act of observation, through the simple awareness of breath, you step into this field consciously. You stop being a victim of reality and begin to participate in its unfolding. So, who created it? Jacobo Grinberg, the scientist who studied consciousness. Why breath? Because breathing is your anchor. It brings your mind back to now. What happens when you focus? You step back. You become the observer. What follows is a shift in vibration, a quiet focus that changes how you feel, sometimes in less than a minute. And as your vibration rises, desires no longer feel far away. They feel near, natural, inevitable. You become open to what you want, not through struggle, but through presence. And it all begins with the observer breath. Over time, small breaths change how you see life. What seems ordinary at first begins to carry a deeper sense of meaning. When you observe your breath each day, you are training your mind to notice instead of react, to witness instead of chase. At first it feels simple, almost too simple, but as the days pass, something subtle begins to shift. Thoughts that once trapped you lose their weight. Emotions that once felt overwhelming soften and pass more quickly. You realize that the way you experience life is not fixed. It bends, it adapts, and it reshapes itself in response to the way you observe. Your reality can shift. You shape it from within, not by controlling everything outside of you, but by choosing how you meet each moment. This is the essence of reprogramming your reality. Most people think change happens by force, by pushing, by rearranging the pieces of the outside world. Jacobo Grinberg showed another way. He taught that change begins in awareness. When awareness grows, the structure of reality begins to reorganize itself. The observer breath is a practice of growing that awareness. One inhale, one exhale at a time. It is not dramatic. It does not need to be. The quiet repetition is what reprograms the mind, like carving a new path in the forest, until it becomes the natural way forward. This is why the practice is simple. Just breathe this way for a few minutes each day. Do not rush it. Do not force it. Be gentle. Just observe your breath. Inhale, exhale, nothing more. By giving yourself these minutes, you create a sacred space where awareness can grow. You might begin with only 60 seconds. Even that can shift your vibration. Some people describe it as pressing a reset button inside their mind. Others feel it as a doorway opening, a calm presence washing through them. The simplicity is the strength. Because it is so easy, you can carry it with you anywhere. While waiting in line, while sitting at your desk, while walking outside, you can pause and watch your breath. You don't need silence. You don't need special tools. You only need the willingness to observe. Each time you do, you strengthen the connection between observer and breath, between awareness and reality. That connection becomes unshakable the more you practice. And what might you feel when this connection deepens? You may feel calm, certain, and clear. Certainty is not the absence of questions, but the presence of trust. As you observe your breath, the inner chatter begins to quiet. Doubt gives way to stillness. In that stillness, you begin to sense possibility in a way that feels more real than thought. Desire may feel real. Possibility may feel near. Not as an idea, not as something far away, but as something already unfolding inside you. This feeling is the proof. When you sense desire as if it were already part of you, the universe begins to echo that state back. Your vibration has shifted. You no longer carry the heaviness of waiting or longing. Instead, you carry the lightness of alignment. Life meets you in that lightness. You start to notice synchronicities, small events that seem to guide you, signs that what you want is moving closer. This is the language of reality responding to your vibration. If you are listening to this now, you do not need to wait to experience it. Try now. Take a slow, deep breath. Watch it move in. Watch it move out. Feel the simple rhythm of your body, steady and alive. In this moment, you are not your thoughts. You are the one who watches, and as you watch, notice how the noise begins to soften, how presence begins to grow. Even one breath like this has the power to shift you, to remind you that you are the observer. As you practice, begin to link your breath back to your desire. Feel your breath, feel your desire. Do not chase it, do not force it. Just let it rise in the same way the breath rises, naturally and without effort. When you inhale, let your desire be present. When you exhale, let the resistance fall away. Notice the shift. Each breath becomes a bridge, a connection between what you feel inside and what begins to appear outside. Jacobo Grinberg believed that this linking of attention, breath, and desire is what reprograms the subconscious mind. The subconscious is powerful. It drives your habits, your emotions, your automatic responses, but it does not understand words as much as it understands states of being. When you practice the observer, breath, while holding your desire gently in awareness, you teach the subconscious a new state. It learns that calm and desire can exist together, that longing does not have to bring stress, that wanting can feel peaceful and natural. Once the subconscious accepts this, reality begins to shift in remarkable ways. You might find yourself making choices that align with your goals without even thinking about it. You might notice opportunities that were invisible before. This is not magic. It is the mind reprogramming itself to see what it once ignored. Small breaths, repeated each day, begin to create a new pattern, and the pattern becomes your reality. Over time, the line between breath and desire begins to blur. Every inhale carries intention. Every exhale carries release. You stop seeing desire as something separate from yourself. It becomes part of you, as natural as breathing. And when desire becomes natural, reality flows to meet it. The beauty of this practice is in its gentleness. It does not ask you to control, to struggle, or to fight. It asks you to observe, to breathe, to trust the power of awareness. And as you do, the reprogramming happens on its own. Slowly, silently, but powerfully, you become someone new, not because the world forced you to change, but because you allowed yourself to see differently. That is the hidden genius of Jacobo's work. He gave us a method so simple that anyone could practice it, and yet so profound that it can reshape the very fabric of experience. The observer breath teaches you that the real change begins within, and once it begins, the world outside cannot help but reflect it back to you. You hold the power within, The observer breath is your key. Each inhale, each exhale is a reminder that you are not powerless, that you are not separate from your desires. You are the observer, and in observing, you begin to shape reality itself. Breathe, observe, manifest. If this message inspired you, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Awaken Synchronicity for more teachings from Jacobo Grinberg and powerful techniques to transform your life.